What's up, guys? Henry here with another episode of Across the Pitch, where we've already had a rough season. But now we are out of the frying pan and into the fire. Atlanta United is back at Mercedes-Benz Stadium on Wednesday for the first time in forever, and they're hosting the Chicago Fire. And here to preview this game, another returning guest. It is Nick from Glasshouse Soccer. Nick, what's going on, man?
Hey, Henry. Great to see you again, man. Thanks for having me back.
Yeah, thanks for coming back on. I feel like it's been forever since you were last on. What's new with you, man?
Yeah, so, me personally, it's just been work by day, kids stuff in the evenings and weekends. Got to spend a little time down in Orlando, so in enemy territory, taking the kids to Disney. But, when it comes to MLS, it's just been trying to figure out what Chicago Fire team we're going to see on a week in, week out basis. If you look at their form, they'll win 3 of 5, then they'll lose 4 of 5, then they'll win 4 of 5, then they'll lose 3 of 5. It's just been an up and down season for the Chicago Fire team, but thankfully it's exciting. They've got an identity, they've got players to watch, and it's been a lot of fun seeing how the season has progressed.
Call it an up and down season, and maybe you have a few struggles here and there, but at least y'all are scoring goals. Y'all have 40 goals this season, which is almost double what Atlanta has, given the incredible attack, or on paper, incredible attack, right? The Fire are just proven to be one of the most prolific attacks in the Eastern Conference. What's kind of been going on there?
Sure. So it starts with Berhalter putting his tactical identity on the team, something that we've seen with the USMNT in the past, that we've seen with his time in Columbus in the past. And I'll start with the negative. Maybe that's just the pessimistic lawyer in me. Starting with the negative, everything that he was criticized for with the USMNT, we're starting to see a little bit here in Chicago now, where they're playing a nice-looking possession game, counterattacking, getting the wingers involved. They can build through the midfield if they need to, but they're just not creating high goal scoring chances. They don't have a very high XG. They don't have a lot of quality opportunities throughout the game. So the Fire are going to score, 1 or 2 goals because they've got some really good attacking players, but is it going to be enough to win them games? To get back on the positive side of things, they made some really good signings in this offseason, and they're paying off. Last year they signed Hugo Kuipers, and now he is still kind of in the mix for the Golden Boot this year. They bring in Philip Zinkernagel from Denmark this offseason. He has been named an all-star by Austin's coach. He's got, let me look over here on my stat screen, Zinkernagel has 9 goals and 8 assists on the season so far. So by far their best attacking player. He will take you one-on-one. He will look to link up with Kuipers. He will look to play with Gutierrez. You're really starting to see him and the young homegrown midfielder Brian Gutierrez develop a rapport. If you go back to the Charlotte game, they worked some great 1-2 passing right up the middle of Charlotte's defense. Unfortunately, they couldn't get it going last weekend or this past weekend against San Diego, and the Fire ended up losing that one 2-1 in what's become an all too familiar scoreline for them. But yeah, it really is your attacking players of Zinkernagel, Kuipers, and Jonathan Bamba has been a wonderful outlet, a great winger. When he can get you on a half turn and get around that defender, he is off to the races. He will link up with players. He will take his shots, but he just hasn't had that finishing touch that should be there for the highest paid player on the team, thanks to the MLSPA salary caps that came out. So you've got those 3 guys leading the attack. They have combined, let's see, that's 24 goals with those 3, and Kuipers with 12, Zinkernagel with 9. You stop any one of them, you're going to have a good chance of holding the Fire.
Now, you talked about some of these players developing some more chemistry with each other, right? You talked about Brian Gutierrez and Zinkernagel finding ways to kind of understand each other on the field. And I'm sure, you factor in Kuipers and Bamba, and they're also finding ways to really meld with the rest of this attack. And to me, that's kind of a theme that has emerged with Atlanta United as well of, we need to build chemistry. It's what we hear all the time, right? It's like we're still building chemistry. We're still kind of finding, we're trying to get these guys to work together. And I'm curious Is that from your point of view? You just praised Berhalter for kind of putting this team together and getting it to where it is right now. Would you say that this whole idea of building chemistry, is that something that the coach really needs to kind of foster, or is that something that is on the players? Where would you put that?
I think it's got to be on both. And coming from the Chicago Fire's perspective, the last few years, they haven't really had a consistent coaching staff. Last year, it was Frank Klopas. Everyone knew it was a one-year thing until they could find a coach that they wanted. And he just kind of slapped together a coaching staff to get them through the year. Previous to that, we had Ezra Hendrickson. Previous to that, we had Rafa Wicki. So there hasn't really been a consistent coaching staff or winning culture or any culture in the locker room. So from there, that's where I think the coach can come in and really put his mark, set certain standards, recruit certain players with whatever you want to call it, emotional IQ or good locker room guys. You can recruit talent and as well as culture into your locker room. And that's what Greg Berhalter has done. So that has grown. But like I was talking about, that little 1-2 combination play with Zinkernagel and Gutierrez, or we see it a little with Jonathan Bamba and Andrew Gutman as he kind of overlaps from his left wing back position. Those kind of things you got to work out in training. Some of it still on the coaching, I think, to foster it and what he does in the training routine, how he draws up game plans. How is he going to attack Atlanta United? Do you think he's going to look to exploit the wings? Do you think he's going to pull it up the middle and try and pick apart a defense? And that can kind of develop it a bit. But that's where the players have to come in. They have to start adapting and adjusting within the game, within their training sessions, and just get to know each other. We see it in every other sport, right? You got to know where the pass is going to be. You got to know where your player is going to be before he gets there. Quarterbacks anticipate the run. Point guards anticipate the pass. All that sort of stuff. Just same as in soccer. So the players do have to take a little bit on it myself. I think the Fire are doing a pretty good job of it, considering they turned over like a third or a half of their roster this offseason. And I'm glad you compare it to Atlanta United. I think it's a fair comparison because we're both towards the bottom, struggling to stay relevant in that playoff line, going out and signing some players. It's nice to see. I think Atlanta's a good comparison for the Chicago Fire. And I was really happy that we got the 3 points at home. Hopefully we can keep it going down in the Benz this upcoming match.
Well, you talked about getting the 3 points at home. Let's actually look back at that game. Go back almost 2 months to that day. Last time out, Alexei Moranchuk thought he was playing basketball, gave Hugo Kuipers an early penalty. Then in the 80th minute, he plays a cross that looks like it's going to get easily cleared, only for Sam Rogers to head it into his own net and tie the game for Atlanta. But not that really ended up mattering because Romani Kwame won it for the Fire a few minutes later. Tell me, Nick, what surprised you the most from that game?
So the defensive lapses were surprising, but it was early on in the season, and we've seen that the Chicago Fire defense is pretty leaky. I think we have the least amount of clean sheets in the league, at least by percentage. So the Fire are going to give up goals. Which it kills me to say it. I think Chris Brady would get a lot more international interest and get a lot more US MNT interest if the Fire's defense was just a little bit better. So the Fire are going to give up goals. Atlanta's going to score at least one, if not two, in this match, especially being at home. So I think if you have any betting fans out there, the over might be a good play for this next match. But Chicago then in that match, they struggled. From that 14th minute to that 86th minute, they struggled to find the back of the net. Looking at the XG, if you believe in that, if you take away the penalty kick, they're down around, maybe 1.8 to 2. And that's not been winning games for the Chicago Fire because of their defense. I think Atlanta was a little lethargic on offense in that match and probably were content for the draw. So the Fire were actually able to win a home game. They've only got, let's check the standings, 2 home wins this season. So they're a much better road team, which doesn't bode well for you. But it all comes down to generating offense, and they still haven't quite figured that out yet. So, do you think Atlanta's defense is going to be able to contain them to just one goal and then maybe maybe get that second one and take the win?
Brother, we talk about defense, and Atlanta doesn't have one. we
Oh,
have
no.
like my reaction to when you said like, oh, I think that the Fire have like the least amount of clean sheets, and I was surprised because Atlanta has 2 this season.
Oh
And
my
so,
gosh.
are y'all actually doing worse than that? Like, I
Let,
have to go back and look.
let me see. We have one. Yeah, we have 2 clean sheets.
Oh, so we're tied.
The
Cool.
0-0 draw with Miami and a 0-0 draw with Orlando. Those are our 2
Same.
clean sheets.
For us, it was a 0-0 draw against Red Bulls early in the season, and then a 0-0 draw against DC, which was painful to watch. But yeah, it was. Look, this defense, this back line has been really beset with injuries for most of this season.
Mhm.
I think the stat is out there that the preferred back 4, which would be Pedro Amador as your left back, Derek Williams and Stian Gregerson as your center backs, and then Brooks Lennon as your right back, though Brooks Lennon is kind of wearing my patience then. But that was entering the season, the ideal back 4. And they've only played together like once or twice this season because someone has always been out. Stian Gregerson continues to struggle with being on the field. He's been injured for months at this point. We don't know when he's coming back. Supposedly, I mean, he was back in training this week, he was back in training last week. Dyla said that he should be good to go this week, though I don't know if he meant this game or Saturday's game. But I guess we'll find out with the availability report. Either way, this defense has been really, really leaky. There's been just sometimes they get beat for pace. Like Derek Williams has had several games where he's just like, he's trying to chase a ball back to Brad Guzan or something, and he just gets, his pocket picked from behind or something like that. He gets outrun, and that's been kind of the bane of Atlanta's existence. Or sometimes it's Atlanta's own players that just pass it to an opponent for some reason and just put them through on goal. And I don't know why. It happens so often. It happened to Miggy once. It's happened to Brooks. It's happened to so many different players. And then in the last game, it very nearly happened against Toronto. Pedro Amador, I don't know what possessed him, but he was crossing the ball into his own box. Like, come on, guys. And so when you talk about like the defense, it makes me kind of cringe a little bit inside because I'm like, this defense is not holding up, man. It hasn't shown that it can.
Yeah.
And I'm afraid, like, with the goals that the Fire have scored this season, like this could get ugly, even if Atlanta is at home. Now, this back line that Atlanta has now, you have like Luis Abram and Efrain Morales as the main center back pairing. Efrain Morales is a homegrown. He starts for the Bolivian national team. Luis Abram starts for the Peruvian national team. And they've been relatively solid. They haven't been perfect. They haven't been great. But Efrain Morales, you see the effort from him. He's been doing pretty well. And then you have some other homegrowns that you could potentially bring in to reinforce. But I really don't know what to expect because, again, the defense isn't great. But with some of these guys that are a little bit faster, Efrain Morales is a little bit faster than Derek Williams. He could potentially, not get exposed as much. Maybe there's a chance for Atlanta. But I don't know, man. I'm nervous.
Okay. Well, it's funny. We're talking about defense and similarities here. Both teams have given up 38 goals on the season. And yeah, the Fire defense has not been 100% healthy, which has been a huge knock. I mean, I think our choice starting 4 is Andrew Gutman at left back, Leo Barroso, the Portuguese youth international, at right back, and then Jack Elliott and Carlos Terán as your center back pairing. Now, Terán's been injured for chunks of the season and is now being rumored to be transferred to, Racing Lens or somewhere out in the French first division. So he's not been playing. Is it just to preserve him for the transfer? Is he hurt? We're not 100% sure on that. And then Barroso has been rotating with Jonathan Dean due to injury in the right back position. Jonathan Dean was playing in USL a couple of years ago. So a great value signing because he's, I think, making close to the league minimum, but is still putting in minutes for the Chicago Fire, decent minutes. And then, yeah, if Jack Elliott, anything happens to him, I don't know what would go on with our back line. For the most part, we've been seeing Jack Elliott pair with Sam Rogers, another offseason signing, someone who Berhalter knew think he called him up for one USMNT camp while he was over playing in Norway, I want to say. So we have had a mix and match back line, very similar to what you guys have had to go through. But fortunately, we've got enough of an offense where it can kind of keep the other teams at bay. If you see Andrew Gutman and Leo Barroso or Jonathan Dean pushing up the field and getting into the attacking third, that's going to bode well for Chicago. I don't know. I don't know how Atlanta will counter that or what you guys are going to want to do. The other thing I wanted to mention, you're talking about Miguel Navarro having, not Miguel Navarro, Miguel Almiron having some bad passbacks. Go back and look at Chicago in that first goal that they gave up to San Diego. Chris Brady trying to play out of the back, that classic Berhalter ball, playing out of the back, and they just are off on their pass enough where it gets turned over. Easy goal. It's happened a few times this year. Something that I get you want to play like that. It's the best way to play. It's the modern way to play. And the way the Fire wingers are, you can pull players out of position, hit that long counter, but they're still prone to those mistakes. So that's a spot where Atlanta can take advantage. If you guys want a high press, if you want to push up, when the Fire have possession in their defensive third, there's the potential for a couple turnovers and easy shots there.
Is Chris Brady good with his feet? Like, I know shot stopping is good, but is he good with his feet?
This is the first year he's really been asked to play out of the back like that, so he's developing it. I think part of it is he needs to know when he just needs to boot it long, like when he can just bail it out and do that. Again, shades of USMNT. Remember that US loss to Mexico was like 3-0. They kept trying to play out of the back, and Berhalter said, keep playing out of the back. We're working on it. We're perfecting it. So there's a little bit of that, just a little bit of that stubbornness there where he wants these guys to play out of the back. So I think once Brady realizes, okay, my midfielder that's dropping back to take that pass up the middle is marked, is covered. I can't put him in a bad position. I just got to send it long. Once he recognizes that, because that's been the problem. We have Sergio Orahel or Mauricio Pineda dropping from that center defensive midfield role to receive the pass, and the player that's pressing them usually is the one forcing the turnover because they can't get the ball out to the wings on a one-touch pass with that much pressure. So good opportunity for Atlanta if you guys want to try and play a high press, if you really want to put pressure on Brady to make the right pass.
It could work. Latte Lat does have the pace to do it, and he tends to, but we'll see. Kind of going back to this game, though, where Chicago gets the 3 points at home against Atlanta. Were you happy with Chicago's overall performance?
So I'm going to answer that in two ways. Yes, because we won. Like, I'm happy. The game ended. We had more goals. We won. That's a big part of it. Yes, we got 3 points. As far as the actual play, I was not happy with the defensive performance. Obviously, giving up an own goal is really tough. I think the communication in the back line has come a long way since then. So that, I guess I can kind of, in hindsight, say, okay, fine. I'm not going to worry about that. Statistically, though, possession was even. It was like 50-50. Gave up a lot of shots, even though Atlanta only had 2 shots on goal. Passing wasn't there. So that's where I think the Fire have gotten better this season, is those quick 1-2 passes as they build out of the back has gotten a lot better. The link-up play in order to transition from defense to offense, from the defensive third to the offensive third, has gotten a lot better. So I would expect if we played this game in Chicago now, that the Fire would be much more dominant in all the statistical categories and probably have 3 or 4 goals. However, we're playing it in the Benz. We're playing on the road, on turf, hostile environment. We'll see how the team comes out. I think they should have a full choice lineup. But the Fire have also been playing a lot of games. U.S. Open Cup against Minnesota, games against Cincinnati and San Diego, all 3 losses. They might start to run out of gas a little bit down in Atlanta. So we'll see how it plays out. But that was kind of my takeaway from that first match. The one other thing, I remember sitting in the stands, listening to these 2 guys behind me talking during the game, and the one's going, "Who's that guy down there for Atlanta?" He's like, his friend tells him, "Well, that's Miguel Almiron." He's like, "Miguel Almiron? The same guy who was playing in the Premier League? That can't be Miguel Almiron." I would expect him to have a better game in Atlanta than he did in Chicago.
We all hope for that. It's been a rough season for Miggy. It wasn't really the homecoming that we thought it would be for him. But
He's taking
hopefully,
that pretty tough too.
yeah, it's just it's rough when the team is in the position that it is, right? This was a team that a lot of people were expecting to be among the top in the East, and it's among the bottom in the East, and it just hasn't gone according to plan at all. And Miggy is one that, he's been very, very upset about it as well. I mean, you could tell from the way he is on the field and just his passion. He's the vice captain for this team. He has that leadership and that spark, and he remembers when this team was dominant in this league.
Oh yeah.
And so it's you feel for him because this wasn't really what he was expecting. And so we hope that things look differently this time. This game in particular, we're hoping that it looks a little bit different. As far as players, it probably will look a bit different. The midfield will almost certainly be different. Jay Fortune's out for the rest of the season, so he will not be there. Brutal because he was having an amazing season, probably our best midfielder. So he won't be there. And we're kind of switching between formations at this point. We're kind of trying to figure out the best positions for everyone. We played this game, I believe, in a 4-3-3 with Jay Fortune might have been playing winger. He might have been playing midfield.
So according to the MLS website, Atlanta started a 5-4-1 against Chicago in Chicago with Fortune as a center mid. Yeah.
Okay. And Alexi on the wing. That's an interesting decision because Alexi doesn't really have the pace for that. But they did that, and then they went and they changed to like a 3-5-2, and they did that for a few games. It kind of worked. It kind of didn't. They got their butts beat off in New York. Then they changed back to a 4-2-3-1 with Alexei Mranchik at the 10, where he hasn't really worked this season, but we're trying whatever we can. So we don't know what to expect in this game. Brad Guzan might not even start because, he had surgery on his cheekbone, on his fractured cheekbone. So Jaden Hibbert might be in goal. He did pretty well last game. And so we might have two young goalkeepers in this game. But besides that, How do you think things will pan out differently in this game?
Well, just to comment on your young goalkeeper thing, yeah, Chris Brady's 21, but he's been the Fire's starting goalkeeper for 2 seasons. Prior to that, he was starting for Forward Madison in USL. So he's young, but very, very experienced. Just came back from a USMNT Gold Cup roster as well. He was backing up Matt Freese in that tournament. So very, very good goalie. Like you mentioned, great shot stopper. Still working on figuring out his footwork a bit. But as far as what's going to change, I think the lineups should be about the same. It's just going to be a matter of whether the Fire have the gas in the tank. Like how do they want to come out? What we've seen over the last few matches is they really go all out with their starting 11, and I appreciate Berhalter's consistency from the U.S. Open Cup match with Minnesota and the match before in Cincy, and then the recent match with San Diego. He's used just about the same starting 11 for all three. Now, I've criticized him on my podcast saying you should have prioritized the Open Cup. You should have rotated against Cincinnati. Who cares? You're probably going to lose that game anyway, even with your starting 11. Rotate against Cincinnati, beat Minnesota in the Open Cup, and then see how your guys are playing San Diego. San Diego, it's a Western Conference team. Even if you lose, you're not dropping as many points in the standings for the playoffs. We should prioritize Minnesota. But he ended up pretty much with the same starting 11 across all 3 matches, and the starters have not been able to score early goals. They go down early against San Diego and Minnesota. Actually, no, they go down early against San Diego. They go up early against Minnesota. Omar Gonzalez got a red card, though. They're playing like 80 minutes down a man. Then one of their players in the second half, Jay Davila, is sent off, I guess, for an injury to get checked out. The referee doesn't allow him back into the play, so they're down 2 men. That's when Minnesota gets their next goal. It was just a debacle. So I digress a little bit here, but the issue is the Fire starters need to score 1 or 2 goals in that first half because we don't have the depth coming off the bench. No game changers off the bench who are going to knock 1 or 2 goals in. I don't know how high you are on Tom Barlow as an MLS striker, but he has had 1 really, really good game this season, and that's about it. So we definitely need to score early, need to score often, as we say in Chicago, vote early, vote often. But if we don't, things are going to tip in Atlanta's favor fairly quickly, I think.
You said you expect the lineup to stay mostly the same. Let's take a look at your predicted 11, and it's actually pretty much the same as the one you had last time. Only major difference is Leonardo Barroso at right back. Now, last time he didn't play against Atlanta, and someone that we didn't really talk about as much. Can you tell me a little bit about him?
Yeah, Leo Barroso was an off-season signing just this past off-season. He is a Portuguese youth international. Has been playing with their U17s, and I think now he's playing with their U19s, maybe. But he's an investment piece, in my opinion. He is a guy that is going to take the jump up from playing in Portugal, coming to MLS, really starting to develop as an attacker and a defender. He's a much better attacker right now. Needs to learn a little bit more one-on-one defending, but he is a guy that will push forward, who scored in his first match ever for the Chicago Fire. Great goal. So he's got that finishing touch, but is still very young, still learning where to be in Berhalter's system, where everything is so scripted. Everything is so I don't know how to call it, but like everyone's got a place, everyone's got to run. If the ball's here, you need to be there. If the center midfielder has the ball, then the right back needs to be up here. Like everyone's got a specific job assignment in the system. And so he's still learning that a little bit. There's still some miscommunications with the defense, but I'll tell you, the kid is fast. The kid is physical. He wants to push forward and get involved in the attack. So he will be an influence on this game in some way or other. Hopefully, from my perspective, the better. Hopefully, it's not a negative influence where he gets caught too far upfield on a counterattack or dives in for a bad tackle, just, youth and inexperience. So we'll see how he fares against Atlanta, but he is someone to keep an eye on. And I mentioned he's an investment piece. I see him developing well with the Fire and then flipping him for a nice transfer fee in the next 2-3 years.
You mentioned youth and inexperience. Something that really kind of stands out to me about this Chicago team is you have a very good blend of kind of experience and young players. Sergio Orejel, one that stands out for me, Brian Gutierrez, Leonardo Barroso, Chris Brady. You have this really, really kind of core of younger players. Why is that, I guess, how important is that for y'all?
Yeah, it is extremely important to the Chicago Fire as an organization. They have said that since Berhalter stepped in as the director of sport and manager of the squad, that they want homegrown Chicago players starting for them. They want to develop young players. They want people coming up through the academy. So my projected starting lineup here, it's a homegrown midfield. Pineda, Gutierrez, and Orejel, all homegrowns. You've got Gutierrez, who's fringe USMNT. You've got Orejel, who's with the US under-20s. Chris Brady, fringe USMNT, also a homegrown. Even Andrew Gutman, technically not a homegrown, but from the suburbs of Chicago as well. And then if you look at Christopher Cupps, 16-year-old center back, injured, not going to be available, but has played a few games for the Chicago Fire this season. They actually started 6 homegrown players. Also, Chris Mueller, who has been out for non-soccer reasons this season, he's from the Chicago suburbs. Again, not a homegrown technically, but this is the kind of talent that's in the Chicagoland area, and this is a focus of the organization going forward. And I think from an MLS perspective, that's fantastic. There are guys here in Chicago who can be stars in MLS, and there are guys here in Chicago who can be sold overseas and play in Europe at various levels, bringing some transfer fees back into the club, allowing the club to invest and build and build the worldwide reputation of the league and the team. I think every club should be looking to identify 4 or 5 guys in their academy that they're going to stick on the first team. And then, of course, the Chicago Fire, always producing great goalkeepers. They've got 2 youth national youth national team goalkeepers on CF2 and in their academy right now as well. So the Fire are definitely developing young talent. I think it's great business. I think it's great football. It's great for the fans. There's always a homegrown player you can look toward and kind of identify with. I think I answered your question. I can't even remember exactly what your question was
Yeah.
again.
No,
Kind of going down the tangent there.
it's pretty much that, but I kind of, I guess, let's bring it to this point. Uh, so does Greg Berhalter really make it a point to play these younger players specifically?
So I don't think he makes it a point to play them, but he does make it a point to give them opportunities in training. Like he has called up probably 4 or 5 guys from CF2 from the MLS Next Pro team to partake in training. We've already had 2 players use up their 4-day contracts earlier on in the season. You know, they bring in a young Italian, Claudio Cassano, an attacking player. He was playing in the second division in Italy, comes over, has been playing with CF2. They want to loan him out back to Italy, someplace to get him more minutes. So Berhalter does make it a point to give these CF2 players, give these academy kids, these 16, 17, 18-year-olds, the opportunity to prove themselves in training. And then a guy like Chris Cups, who did it for CF2, did it in training, stepped into some MLS games when center backs went down hurt and performed well. I might have it if he was healthy. I'd probably have him starting over Sam Rogers in place of the injured Carlos Terán. So they will earn opportunities with the Chicago Fire, and I think that's something that MLS has to do. I love the big signings. Everyone's focused on DPs, but we got to raise the floor as well as the ceiling, and I think the Fire are doing that. Now, I don't know who from Atlanta is going to jump out. Who's your next big talent that you think could impact either this match or the rest of the season?
I mean, there's a lot of options, and I think that's something with Atlanta, right? You look at Atlanta as a club, and what characterizes them is, oh, they spend a lot of money, right? We spend a lot of money on our DPs. We go out, we're not afraid to splash some cash. Arthur Blank has just like deep pockets. So that's the focus, right?
Arthur Blank check, absolutely.
Exactly. And however, the academy is important for this club as well. And like last year, we got our new academy director, whose title is director of methodology, Javier Perez. And slowly, I mean, we've been producing some interesting players. Like, right, we had George Bello back in the day. George Campbell came out of the academy. He's at Montreal, and apparently he's going to get sold to West Brom.
I just saw that, yeah.
So that's
Hope
exciting.
Got a little sell-on percentage, maybe.
Caleb Wiley, who went to Chelsea and is on loan with, I think, Watford now. But we've got some more guys coming up through the pipeline, right? Noah Cobb is an exciting young center back. He's 20, I think, right now. He hasn't really gotten a whole lot of playing opportunities this season, but he's had his chances with the first team, and he plays with the second team now a little bit more. Efrain Morales, another homegrown, who starts for the Bolivian national team. We just mentioned him. He has been really good in this back line, stepping in for Derek Williams, stepping in for John Gregerson while they've been out, and he's been dependable. Matt Edwards has stepped in at right back when Brooks Lennon was unavailable. He's also played center back. He brings that fire and just goes up the wing and just really helps you bring an attacking edge, bring some width to the attack in some sense. And he's got tons and tons of energy. Luke Brennan, I feel like I have to mention him because of the penalty that he won in the last game that salvaged a point. Literally, we were memeing it, like, because you could see him like he was covering his face and like he peeks at the referee to see if he gets a foul, and he ends up getting it after a VAR check, and it's it's funny, it's amazing, and he's a master of the dark arts. He's a little master of the dark arts, and we need that more on this team, right? We need more of those guys who are going to like get in the opposition's heads and kind of maybe force a few yellow cards out of them, maybe sure, even bait someone into a red card. Who knows? Like just that kind of like Jamie Tart kind of figure. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like we need some more of that. And besides that, he also, he's young, he's fast. Ronnie Dyla praised him for that after the game, that he is just a dynamic guy that brings some extra bite to the attack. Yeah. And also the homegrowns, they've got kind of some of that dog in them. You know what I'm saying? They want it a little more than some of these guys that maybe, you're paying millions of dollars for, that maybe are, and Ronnie Dyla called him out, right? Called a lot of players out, or well, he didn't call a lot of players out, but he kind of put the message out there. We asked them in training last week, like about this new signing we have, Anaya Mihai, who won't play until the window opens. But he talked about him as a leader, communicator, and then he said, he's here. He's here because he's hungry, not because he wants to cash a check or enjoy the U.S. Right?
Okay.
And it feels like that was a little bit directed at some of the players on this team. And so, but with the homegrowns, you don't have that problem, right? They're not making the big bucks. They're making league minimum. And they really want to make a name for themselves. And so that they're hungry, and it shows when they play. And so we've been begging for this team to play the kids, especially as the season is right now. Just play the kids, man. There's not much to lose. And Ronnie Dowell is doing a little bit more now. And after seeing what Luke Brennan was able to do, after seeing Jay Fortune's growth over the past year, after seeing some of these players really step in and really kind of step up to the challenge, he kind of admitted, I got to start giving these guys more opportunities. It's paying off. And so I'm happy for that. I want more of that. I want to see the kids.
That's awesome. I think we could say the same about Gutierrez and Rogers. Like once Gutierrez was given the starting midfield role, it's yours. When they shipped him off, and they, whatever you call it, mutually agreed to terminate his contract, whatever, and said, okay, Guti, you're the center midfielder. His confidence and just getting those reps and getting those minutes helped him become a much better player. He's got a lot to work on with his defense, to be fair. But you're right. He's taking that next step. Even Sam Rogers in the beginning of the season, giving up own goals to Atlanta, just being completely out of position, facing his goal, all of that. Even he, with consistent minutes, is now becoming a better player. Sergio Orahel, again, USMNT youth national team player, couldn't get starts last year under Frank Lopez. All of a sudden starts this year with Berhalter and made a lot of mistakes early. But Berhalter stuck with him, and you have seen his growth and development. I think that's what's great about this league is it's such a competitive league that just the fact that you're playing week in and week out, you're going to become a much better player.
Absolutely. Well, let's talk about how we think that this game goes, right? We're at the score prediction. We do the score prediction challenge. Tell me how you think this ends.
Well, we know that the Fire give up goals. We know that Atlanta gives up goals. Given everything we've talked about, I think a 2-2 draw is a fair result. And that's what I'll go with.
Interesting.
Fire just want to stop the bleeding. We can get a point on the road. That'll go a long way. Let's go Kuipers, and let's go Selassie off the bench late. Let's do that.
We'll see what happens on Wednesday. But in the meantime, Nick, where can people find you?
Thanks. I am on social media at Glasshouse Soccer. You can follow along on the YouTube channel, or you can look up the podcast, Feed the Fire, available wherever you get your podcasts.
Check out Nick. Check out Glasshouse Soccer. Check out the website, scarvesandspikes.com, for all your news, opinion, articles, everything about the Five Stripes, and just soccer in Georgia in general. We have a lot of that going on, especially with the Club World Cup that just ended. We had games here. Soccer is huge. The World Cup is coming in a year. We will have all that stuff covered for you. So please go and check it out. Also, check out the shop for merch. You get hats, you get hoodies for, clearly we're not in winter weather right now, but you want to prepare for the winter. Get your t-shirts, get your beer glasses, get tons of stuff that supports the show, and also it looks pretty cool. And last way that you can support the show is by joining the Patreon. $1.17 a month gets you access to tons of exclusive content, interview audio, our exclusive stuff like our Unfiltered series, our Patreon mailbags, and of course the Discord where we talk all things Atlanta United and beyond. We have a cooking channel. We have a video game channel. We have a TV channel. We have a channel for all of the Atlanta sports teams that are sucking right now. So come on, join. We have tons of really cool conversations, and we'd love to have you as a part of our community. And that's going to be it for this episode. Thanks, everyone, for watching. Nick, thank you so much for hopping on.
Always a pleasure to be with you guys, and enjoy the match.